Jerry Collins joining us. Is
No
there anyone
relation.
else?
No relation.
I have a host of staff members here.
Harold, long.
All these ladies,
No
ladies
relation.
and gentlemen.
Well,
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I'm glad to see Mr. Collins is here because I sent him a letter along with my other colleagues and members of the media, and Mr. Collins did not reply to my letter whatsoever. But I do appreciate seeing him and him bringing all of these young ladies here with him to defend this current credit policy, which is now an albatross around the necks of many of our elderly, many poor people, and many disabled. I have received phone call after phone call from individuals, elderly people crying because the utilities have been cut off. My assistant Juanez put another message on my desk today from an individual whose ailing mother, who's a diabetic and who's also bedridden, has her utilities have been cut off, and he was saying, look, we're doing the best we can. I'm the only son that's working. Can you please try to do something to help? And certainly I would have to ask Mr. Collins and Mr. BB to put themselves in the place of these individuals who only getting Social Security of $500 and some a month, and their utility bills maybe $550. So what do they do? Do they opt to pay all of their utility bills, can't pay their mortgage, can't buy medication or any other necessities that we take for granted? I think I know why the credit policy was changed last year, and I'm going to say it, and I think it was a political reason why it was changed. But I have a number of questions here, Mr. Collins, I would like to ask you, and then I'd like to make a statement at the end about the complaints that I've had with your new call center. Why did you change the policy, the old policy, to this new policy?
As you'll recall, last spring there was controversy about preferential treatment. There was controversy about not following policies at MOG&W relative to credit policies and payment policies. The MOG&W board took notice, so did City Council. There was much to be said about that at council meetings, at board meetings, and in the media. Subsequently, there was an audit done of the credit policy, which is this document, and I have copies available. As a result of that audit, there was a credit policy written, which is this document, which I have copies available. The new credit policy is very similar to the old credit policy. It is substantially more lenient than the old credit policy. And the biggest difference in the new policy and the old policy is that we are following the new policy, whereas the old policy was not followed to any great extent.
Well, first of all, when you talk about you had a new policy, that didn't have anything to do with poor people, neither did it have anything to do with the elderly on fixed incomes or the disabled as well. Secondly, why are checks no longer being accepted when the cutoff personnel show up?
That has not been a policy for residential customers for many years. Is that correct?
Can anybody answer that? Because I know...
That's correct. That hasn't been a policy. It was got rid of 6 years ago, 5, 6 years ago, at least 5 years ago. It has been, it was a practice for commercial customers, but that was stopped this year.
That is not true, Mr. Collins. Number 3, why are good paying customers now being put on the credit list for bad credit?
If a good paid customer is being put on a credit risk list, it's because they violated the credit policy. And there may be occasions in the past, and in fact there's probably many occasions in the past, when they violated the policy but were not placed on credit risk status. We are following the policy, which is more lenient than the previous policy, but we are following the policy.
I appreciate that, Mr. Collins, but I think you should tell some of these elderly people that you have cut off how lenient you are. Another question, what is the history of Smart Pay bill leveling flex pay at MLG&W?
Smart Pay is a program that's been around for how long now?
A long time.
A long time?
Oh, that's a good answer.
It's a policy which does levelize payments. The policy always has been that you could not get on Smart Pay or another program called Net Pay if you had anything other than a zero balance. We feel like that is wrong, and for the last month we've been drafting up a change of the policy, which will go before the MLG&W board this Thursday, that will let elderly customers get on Net Pay and Smart Pay even if they have something other than a zero balance, which will be of great help to those individuals.
What happens when the customer can't pay the flex pay money at the end of the year?
Then they're taken off of...
At the end of the year, that we sell up every March. And at the end of the year,
Who are you?
Eliza King, Supervisor Bill.
All right.
So
gotta go do the check.
You got just that. Okay. Just we need your name for the record and who you are. Okay.
Eliza King. At the end of the year, we sell up in March of every year. And if they have a deficit in that pot, we'll spread it out over the next 12 months. They don't have to come and pay it all at one time. We'll look at that, what they used the previous year, we'll budget their account, and then we'll spread that deficit. If they have a credit, then that means that their payment will probably be lowered the next year for the next 12 months.
Why won't MLG&W personnel accept paid receipts when LG&W cutoff shows up?
Paid receipts?
Yeah, paid receipts, like they've gone down there and paid their bill and said, okay, here's a receipt. And cutoff comes and say, well, I've already paid, and they won't accept it.
Anybody answer that question?
You do.
Mr. Collins, would you, if you're going to have someone else answer, would you identify who
Yes,
they
Chris.
are?
Just too many got the job.
Eliza, can you answer that?
Well, one reason we found that sometimes...
Wait a minute, do you do or do you don't? He said you do. Now, what do you, Miss Elijah, say?
I say that we do not take paid receipts.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. That's all I need to know. Next question. Is the increase...
But you asked me why.
No. That's what I don't want to know. Excuse me, Mr.
Ms.
Chairman.
Fullylove has the floor.
Yes, thank
And
you.
if she asks you a question, give her an answer and
Thank
then
you.
move on.
Thank you. Mr. Collins, is the increase in customer deposits and reconnect fees factored into your budget?
Is the increase...
Is the increase in customer deposits and reconnect fees factored into your budget?